Hello, dear students. Welcome to the lecture 4 of Advanced Programming with C# course. So today we will continue from where we have left. I will start with copy and pasting our previous lecture, and we will continue from that source code. So here, you know, all of them already exist in our GitHub repository. Okay. So today we are going to see how to prevent SQL injection attacks, and I had taken some other notes as well. Okay. All right. And let's open the notes. And how to how to prevent UI freezing when adding new records. Okay, so let's start with renaming our lecture. Okay, and rename these two. Okay. This is not a complete rename, but it will at least change some of the names. Okay, namespace is still lecture 3. I wonder if we can change the namespace. So let's look for it. Here, project properties. Here, debug properties, perhaps. Yeah, can we change this? Probably no. Okay, anyway, it is not that much important. And so let's run up our application and remember what we have seen previous week. If you remember that when we were adding records to our database as a batch, it was freezing our UI. Okay, for example, when I click, you see UI is frozen. Therefore, I am not able to see or do anything until the operation is completed. And how can I fix that? Fixing it is rather easy with tasking. Okay, we will use tasks to start subtasks and prevent running in the main thread. Currently, all of our code is running under main window class under the main window UI thread. Therefore, it is blocking our screen when running. How can we know that? Let me show you. So here I will show print the thread name. Okay. Okay, get torrent thread IP. This is deprecated. Perhaps this one equal to this. Okay, so it says that use manage thread ID, and I think it was some of the, okay, here. So this is the proper way of getting thread ID. Okay, to be able to use it, I have to add system threading. Okay, now we can get the thread ID. Okay, I have to also add some other places. I think I will write another method to log threads. So let's add a static class to do our extra things. Global functions. And here public static void log thread. And can we get the calling method name? Hmm. Let's test this using some runtime compiler services. And what else we need? We need string sr message, perhaps, if we want to, but probably we don't need. So here we will do to log from multiple threads concurrently. I will use a static stream writer, and to be able to use it, probably we need system IO input output static stream writer. Right, logs equal to new stream writer, and okay, to let's give it a name, logs txt, and we will make it UTF-8, and I need it to be appending, perhaps. Okay, there's bool append, so it will be true. Encoding. Okay, here. And I will also assign an auto flush, and to do that I need to have a constructor for this class. You see, static classes are not initialized to use, so they are, but at some point they have to get initialized, and which is when they are first called. Okay, when you first time call a static method from a static class, it will get initialized, and I will show you that as well. So the initialization of static methods are same as other static classes are same as other classes. So this will be the constructor. Okay, this is the constructor of the static class. Okay, it will be called when the first time this class is referenced in the application during runtime. Okay, so here what I'm going to do is I will set flush as auto flush true, and here I will just log the thread ID such as write line So let's add a datetime now plus double tap and the thread ID. To get the thread ID here. Sorry about that. Okay, var this, and you see I can add this or I can type the full path such as this, both works. And calling method equal to member name. Okay, I'm not sure if will this work or not. So to show you when do these get initialized, I am putting a breakpoint here, here, and here. And here I will call log thread. Okay. Let's run our application to see in which order the static methods are getting initialized. Okay, so you see none of these breakpoints have yet reached because this static class is not initialized until you use a method, a variable, something from that in your application. Okay, so they are not basically getting initialized as soon as you run your application. They are getting initialized as soon as you make a reference, you make a call to that class. Okay, so when I click this, you will see it is starting with declaration of the uh, static members. Actually, this is being a field, and then it will get into the constructor. Here you see now it is inside the constructor, and then it will get into the method call that I have just did. But these two will not be get called again. Okay, these are one-time things. When the first time the class is the static class is getting initialized. Okay, so let's get the thread ID. The thread ID is 1, and then we write logs. Does this? Okay, so it is showing CTOR. This is not what I wanted. I need to get the method name. It is okay. This wasn't the thing. I think we can get it from stack frame probably. Yeah. So this is not the thing we wanted. So here stack trace, yes, get the call stack, and to get it diagnostics. So we can delete this. It is not being used anymore. Method info is from reflection. Yeah, this makes more sense. And calling method, okay. Explicit cast. Yeah, let's do it. And then the method name. Yeah, let's try this way. Okay. Okay, so it says that we cannot type it. So let's check the stack frames and see what are there. Okay, log thread file unknown. Yeah, actually we need the first one, log thread. This is our calling method name. So it will be this. And from these stack frames, I think we can get the name easily. Yeah, the method is log thread. Okay. Okay, so this is the method that has called our method. Oh, no, not this one actually. Yeah, log thread is the method that being called. We need the method who called it. So we need the parent of this method called. And let's see. if it is available somewhere here. Hmm. Hmm. Maybe here. Hmm. Okay, it says that it should give you, but didn't work. Let's try again. Okay, it says that you have to add explicit cast, and from that way we cannot get it. Hmm. Oh, it says when you only use this in debug builds, it will work well. Oh, there is caller info, but it is not working. Why? In C#5. It is available in .NET format. I see. Yeah, it is not working anymore. That is why. Let's try this. But actually, this is not important, but anyway, we are just doing it. So let's see if this is working. Okay, we are getting only CTOR because the behavior has changed in .NET Core. Yeah, we need a recent answer to get that. It is not working anymore. Yeah, it is not the way it works now. This is not working either. Okay, this is something new, but this is not working at all. Okay, I will show you another method if none of this works. It will be, I wanted to make it automatically, but it looks like not working. We need to do more research. Yeah, it is different now, therefore we will just use traditional way, which is this one. Okay, so here we will just pass our method name, main window method, and then let's add it to here insert random students as well. Okay. Let's also open our debug folder. Okay, first time initialization, they are called and our method is called. Program started, and let's open our debug folder. And here we have logs, and we can see the log here, thread ID is 1. Then when I click this, we will see, okay, one moment. Okay, when we reload, now our method names are being written, and you see they are running under the same managed thread. Therefore, when we click insert, our interface is getting frozen until that method call is completed. So how we gonna prevent the freeze? It is easy. We are going to move this method into a new method inside of that method. Okay. And simply we will call tasks factory start new. Okay, it is self here. Let's say this was self method, self function calling, and here we open curly brackets, and inside here we will just call our method. Okay, now they will be running under different threads. We will see that. By the way, if you have noticed that after the first time initialization, these are not executed again. Okay, this is the first time initialization, and then when we click another button, you see they are not called anymore. However, they are written on here. So you see now the thread ID is different. They are not running in the same managed thread anymore. Therefore, meanwhile this thread is working, thread ID 6, thread 1 is still available to work. I can start another instance of this, so there will be multiple random students click running. When I click, you will see now it is under another thread 11. Okay, and they are running at the same time, and we can see the how much CPU. You see a lot of CPU is being used by the SQL server, Visual Studio as well. Okay, and each one will be completed at the background. And we can also add a label to display as a counter of completed operations. And I will stop the application. Okay. So here, let's add a label. So this will be our counter, and let's name it as counter and all right, so in here we will display the number of added records with content equal to I to string, or let's say we can make it as 50k and okay, I over okay. However, if we do this, it may be too fast. Therefore, we can show with 100 equal to 1. So it will be displayed once per 100 records is added. Here we can show as like this. However, this will not work. Do you know why? Because this libl counter exists on main window thread. Therefore, we cannot access it from a subthread like this. When I run it, you will understand what I mean. You can't access of other threads objects from different threads. Okay, you see system invalid operation exception. The calling thread cannot access this object because a different thread owns it. So how do we fix this problem? We can fix this problem with this dot what was it, dispatcher begin invoke. By the way, there is begin invoke and invoke. When we use begin invoke, it is asynchronous, so it won't be blocking the thread run. I can't remember the exact syntax, but it was requiring a delegate, something like this. Let me find an example. Okay, so it requires something like this. Okay. Okay, here we will just move this to the here. And okay, and here. By the way, you see I am writing dispatcher multiple times, and we can prevent that happening. How? We can write a method here, and let's say private void update label. Okay, message, and inside here we can simply do it like this. When you are writing code, you should convert everything into method calls so that you won't be doing duplicate coding. Okay. And here the content will be equal to message. All right, and it will be simply like this. Okay. Now, when we run the application, the screen will not freeze anymore, and dispatcher will handle even multiple threads try to access that label, it will handle both of them. So when I start the first one, you see it is running, and when I start another one, you see now they are competing each other, and I can start another one. Now 3 different methods are competing, and you see now each one of them is writing on the display differently. And when we see the thread IDs 1, 4, 11, 6, 12, each one is starting as differently, and all of them is getting handled by the SQL server. So when we check the CPU usage, we can see that SQL server is running high. Our application is running high on CPU. Okay, and okay, so now you understand the logic behind using tasks to run application, run methods under different threads. Okay, however, our code is now at the moment vulnerable to SQL attacks, SQL injection, which is the most common way of hacking applications, application servers and databases. So what is SQL injection and how to prevent it? I will show you. Okay, so let me find you a good description of SQL injection. Okay, this looks like a good example.
SQL injection.
So let's see the SQL injection.
In this section, we'll explain what SQL injection is, describe some common examples, explain how to find and exploit various kinds of SQL injection vulnerabilities, and summarize how to prevent SQL injection.
Okay, so let's assume that you have a database and you allow user to query products with the name as a category as gifts. Okay, you see the query is here, and actually I will show you this from our database as well. So let me open the SQL Manager Studio. Okay, so let's continue. I will show you what it is and how can it be done.
What is SQL injection, SQLI? SQL injection is a web security vulnerability that allows an attacker to interfere with the queries that an application makes to its database. It generally allows an attacker to view data that they are not normally able to retrieve. This might include data belonging to other users, or any other data that the application itself is able to access. In many cases, an attacker can modify or delete this data, causing persistent changes to the application's content or behavior.
So you see, it is not only allowing attackers to see, but they can also modify or delete the data. It is extremely dangerous vulnerability, and it is the most common vulnerability that not professional programmers, engineers are doing.
In some situations, an attacker can escalate an SQL injection attack to compromise the underlying server or other back-end infrastructure, or perform a denial of service attack.
Okay.
What is the impact of a successful SQL injection attack? A successful SQL injection attack can result in unauthorized access to sensitive data, such as passwords, credit card details, or personal user information. Many high-profile data breaches in recent years have been the result of SQL injection attacks, leading to reputational damage and regulatory fines. In some cases, an attacker can obtain a persistent backdoor into an organization's systems, leading to a long-term compromise that can go unnoticed for an extended period.
Okay, so currently our application is vulnerable to SQL injection attack. You see, we are allowing users to write queries from our interface on here, and it is extremely bad, of course. But not that only. Usually, normally you wouldn't allow that, but let's add a simple interface to do something else. So let's open our table. Okay, assume that we are allowing users to search and list students by name. Okay. And I will add another tab item to show that screen, which will be SQL injection vulnerable. And let's call the header as SQL injection. Okay. And let's add a text box here. Normally, this is what would the non-professional programmer students would do. So the text box is taking entire space. Let's make it smaller. Okay, and here, let's remove the height. If you don't define manual heights or width, then if you set it as text margin, it may change according to your screen size. The design of the interface is something different, and I am not getting into that right now. Okay, so let's say this is the username text box, and here let's add a label. Enter let's say student name for searching. Okay, and so let's name this as name, say student name, and search, or let's say list students. Okay, btn list students, and let's add another oh, why it did give error? I think we have the same name, list students by name. Now we should not give any error. I will copy and paste the list box here. Copy, come here, paste it. Oh, it is taking the full space. So let's add our own list box then. Okay, we have got some unnecessary code here, I think. We have tab control, tab item 1, tab item 2, tab item 3. Yeah, okay. And here we have a list box with, okay, I will just copy and paste this as list box 3. Okay, and okay, we will remove this. Yeah, okay, now looking good. And here we will do the listing with searching. So how would you write a query to retrieve students by name. It would be something like this: select all. It is star from TBS students where student name equal to such as, let's say, this. Okay, and when we write it, it will bring us that student. Or we can also write it as something like this. It will be a like query, so it will bring all the students that starts with like, contains a word. Okay, so now let's do it. We will get a data set results from DB connection and select data set and our query. And here we will use the txt student name. Okay, this is normally what you would write, right? Okay, so let's take it to here for better readability. This and here. Then we will do a for each to add records into okay, we are selecting dataset, so we will select data table. By the way, if your query has syntax error, this would be null, therefore you will get an error, and to prevent it, if not equal to null, you can add some precaution like this. And here we will access listbox tree. Add, and let's add, I think we can use the same code here. So you see, I would be doing copy paste. How can I fix it? Do you think we can fix it like this? Private void add record to listbox, and what it will take, it will take a data row, and then it will take the reference of listbox. Okay, it is simple as this one, this much. And here we will copy and paste this here, and here we will provide the list box. Two. And we also need to provide a data set. Yeah. Yes. Okay. And here it will take the records. Okay. However, we have used a data table here, therefore it will be different. So let's use data sets instead of data table, or we can make this overloaded such as equal to null and data table equal to null. So if ds is null equal to null, then we will do if data set and then ds tables at data. Okay, I think it should work now. So now we can use this method. and we will just call our method here. Okay, now they can take null values by default, so therefore I will provide the DT records. Okay. So when I provide this data row, this one and this one like this, what happens, do you think? So this is a local variable and it is an object class type, therefore its reference will be provided. And this one is field of the main window, therefore its reference will be provided. And this one is a local variable, therefore its reference will be provided. Okay, so it is not like we are copying and generating different instances or of these objects. It is just we are sending their reference, their address to our method. Therefore the changes that I make to these records in here would be reflected here as well, or anywhere. It is a topic at, I think, let's say a few weeks later. So I will not enter, I will not explain it in details, but we are just providing their references. And references are address of the values, we can say that. And okay, now we will do the same call here. However, this time we will provide dt and we will provide this one. Okay, so let's run our application and see if it is working or not. Let's look for 2D records. Yeah, you see there are so many students that has student name which includes 2D word. Or our, okay, our application starting and 2D list students. Okay, data table belongs to another table. Ah, I see. So since we have sent the reference of the data table, therefore it is throwing an error. How can we fix it? Data column connection, data table columns. Okay, we can fix it like this. Data table collection dot okay, data table columns. Data column. Okay. I think we can make it like this. And here, okay. Okay, now it should work. By the way, we are not doing any null checks of ds and dt. What I mean is we are expecting that this method will take at least ds or dt. So it is not the best way of programming, but it should work. Okay, and here. Okay, and here. Okay, something is not right. So what may it be? Okay, this thing. We are providing the incorrect listbox reference. We will provide listbox 3. Okay. Hmm. Yeah. And we have to change the listbox name here. Okay. You see, we have avoided writing duplicate code. We have converted our code into a method call, which can support multiple methods. Okay, now it's working. However, this is open to SQL injection. How do you think? For example, let's make an example of this. So our query is something like this, right? What I can do is I can end the previous query with this, and then, for example, I will change the student name of ID 8757. Okay, how am I going to do that? I'm going to do is it's something like this. Update and TBR students. By the way, to be able to use it, you have to know the table name in this case, and there are also other methods to let's say find out table names if your application is vulnerable to SQL injection. Set student name equal to, let's say, Toros University, where okay, student ID equal to this one. Okay, this will probably list nothing. Okay, now I can look for Toros University as a student, and let's try it. Okay, let's see if our query is working. Okay, why it didn't work? Okay, so this is not the thing we need to add. Mm, okay, this means that the rest of the query is treated as comment, and I think there was a specific keyword to end a query. Maybe something like this. Yeah, I think this should work better. Let's try this. So this will tell that the query ends here. The first query will give an error. However, the second should run fine. Oh. Oh, first query is throwing an error, so let's try it like this, fix, and then here. Okay, we are doing something. Let me check the code. Oh, this is select query, therefore I think, no, it should work, no. Now let's try, click the link. So our query did become something like this. Okay, here. Okay, so currently we are not writing it correctly. To fix it, I think I need to add something like this. Yeah. And I also need to remove this string. So how can I remove it? I think I can remove it like this. Yep, now it would work. Okay, so we need some other modification to our query, such as, okay, here, because it is expecting a string, it will add that string, and after our new query, we will do the set the rest as a command. And now, when we run, yes, you see all of the student ID 7857 set as Toros University. So I have basically hijacked the application. I did an SQL injection, and once you execute your queries naked, such as this one, attackers can exploit your system. So here I am ending the first query like this, then I am appending the malicious code here, and then I am ending the rest of the query with this keyword, with this special command in SQL. So you see now I am hijacking my database result. I can even delete all of the records in database. So to do that, I would simply just need to, I can even drop the table, but I won't do that. Delete from TBL students. I can even delete all the tables in that database without even knowing their name, because we are executing the query with school database. And when I click list, now it is deleting all the records, and they are deleted. Now when I select, you see empty. All records are deleted. So imagine that on your production server, you leave your code vulnerable to SQL injection attack, and one day when you wake up, you see that your entire database is deleted. Everything is gone. Imagine that. It is a disaster. By the way, we also should clear items. Like we do here. So how we can prevent SQL injection? The prevention of SQL injection is made with parameterized queries in C#. Okay, So what we are going to do is we will convert our methods of database operations into parameterized queries. Okay, so how do we write parameterized queries? I think I will start from a simple query and then I will turn that into a method, just our existing select data table method or select dataset method or our update method, which we have seen so far here. Select data row, select data table, update, delete, insert, and select dataset. All of these methods so far we have written directly executes the query. Therefore, all of them are vulnerable to SQL injection attack. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to turn this method into a secure method. Okay, and so let's copy paste this into here. Okay, SQL okay, then we will have another version which will have parameterized. Okay, parameterized secure list student. All right. So what will be the difference? I will start from simple example, and here we will use SQL command, and we will write our command as previously, but with different parameterizing. So it will be like this. Okay, select everything. Start from TBR students where student name like, and here it will get a parameter. Okay, the parameters are defined with add character in front of them, and it will be something like this. And I will call it as parameter name here, and okay here. Okay, and this will be our SQL command. SQL command also takes SQL connection, and let's get the connection from our connection code from here. Okay. Okay, and to do that, let's write it like this. Connection is opened, the connection is provided. We are not done yet. So our SQL command is ready, SQL command object. So you see this is a class in data SQL client. And therefore, our object of SQL command is ready with having our query like this. We could also do something like this, I believe, as command text equal to, I think let's do that way first. This, then command dot connection is equal to connection. And you see, you know that we should always use using clause if it is supporting. So let's check that whether command is supporting using or not. And yes, it is supporting using. Therefore, we will be doing using clause. Okay. And then what else? There is what else? And then we will add the parameters with their names. Okay. So command dot parameters add with value. Okay, there is add with value, and here you see there is parameter name and object value. The parameter name is here. Let's give it a name as student name. So this add character is a special character in Microsoft's SQL Server, I think it may be also same in MySQL. I am not sure, but probably, and also in other TSQL related database management systems as well, probably. And so here, the add student name is our parameter name. Therefore, first we provide it and then we provide the value. So what is the value in our example? It is this student name text that we are getting from user. Okay, everything is now ready because we have only one parameter here. And let's see what else there is. Okay, so there is another. Oh, you could also define the parameter type and the value itself like this. I think, yeah, let's use this method. Both works. This works and this also works. I think you can also use this method as well. So they are same, but here we are providing the data type of parameters. Currently this is string, therefore it can automatically understand when executing on SQL Server. However, if you are using a special object, then you can also define values like this. Okay, then however, if you do it like this, it is becoming more generic, I can say. But yeah, I think we can do either way. I think let's do this type. Yeah, this is because better. Let's see if I have written the name correctly. Yeah. Okay. And finally, what we are going to do is executing the parameterized query, and it is, yeah, like this. Okay, SQL adapter. You see, we are using SQL data adapter. I think we can call it as SQL adapt. Okay, and it is taking command. Let's see if this does support using. I am not sure. If it is supporting, then you should use it. Yes. So SQL adapter class is also supporting using, and not every class supports it. And then we will use data table. Okay, we could also use, I think, data set. And let's see. Yeah, you can fill a data table or data set. Data set means that you will be selecting multiple tables from the SQL Server. But if you do data table, then you will be selecting single table. And currently we are doing single table select. And okay, now we have our data table, but I will define data table outside. I have to define data table outside of this scope to use it like here. Let me show. Okay, if you want to use your data table out of, let's give it the same name, outside of the using scope, then you have to define it somewhere else, because you see, this data table will be disposed of once our software exit from this using statement. Whatever inside using statement is disposed of, closed, and such after you leave the using statement, using code block. Okay, code region. Or so let's move this to the top of our code, and now we can use it. And since we are defining it with new data table, I think it won't be null ever. So it is fine, but we can leave it. Okay, now this is the secure way of doing queries. Now let's try our method and try to delete students from table like we did from vulnerable code. And you know the varchar is the character which is used for string. Okay, before we do that, we need to add some records. Now we are adding records to our database. You see, because of the label size, we can't see the entire code. So let's make this label bigger. Okay. Okay, so let's insert. Okay, insertion started. Okay, meanwhile this code is working, we can work here. So let's list the students and nothing has come, and so we need to add some ladder first. Okay, it's still nothing is coming. So we may have a problem at somewhere. I think we have to remove n, because now that we are using parameterized query, okay, there is still some problem. When we are writing the like query, how was it? Okay, let's check it out. SQL parameterized like query. Like queries are somewhat different. Yeah, this is what we are doing right now, so it should work. Okay, student name, student name, student name. Okay, so where is our mistake? So you see, when you're executing a parameterized query, to see that you can use tools SQL profiler, and here let's start a tuning and execute our query, and then we can see the query executed here. Okay, like student names and student name var character 2 student name equal to this. So let's see where is our error. Okay, so there is no error, so let's, maybe there is no such student as DA. Yeah, let's try 10A or 1A0. Yeah, let's try this. Interesting. So may it be because we have extra here? No. Okay, maybe something like this. No, now giving error. So this is the query getting executed. Maybe this is extra, I don't know. If we remove one, oh, okay. Okay, we are using like. Okay, this is working, but this is not working. Why? Okay, execution plan table scan as expected. Student name, varchar 2. Yeah, everything is looking correct. May it be because we are using the same name as. No, it should not matter, but let's verify. Yeah, it is not. Interesting. This is really interesting. Ah, now I remember the reason. Okay. So when you are using these percentages, you have to provide that inside your string. So it will be like this. Plus. This is the way doing like based query. As I said, this means that any number of characters, any characters, and any number of characters, any characters. It's a wildcard search. Now it should work. Okay. Zero. Oh, and now since that we have edited, we don't need this anymore because you see we use it to define a string. Now when you are using when you are doing a parameterized query, you don't need to put that string because the SQL server is handling that part. So the query is becoming like this and a 0. Okay, now we can see. Now we can try our SQL injection like delete from TBL students and this. And when I run it, nothing will happen because now we are doing a parameterized query, and as you can see, it has failed to delete from TBL students. And now when I run the same query on my unsecure listing, it will delete it. So let's add another button to see, to test it. Okay, SQL injection, list students by name, save. Okay, and then I will copy paste it. Okay, list students insecure, and this can be named as secure. And here we will delete the click event and compose another one. Click new event handler. Okay. And what we are going to do is simply we will take this and put it here. Okay. So now let's rerun. Oh, we have forgotten to reset the list box. Okay, let's add them to here. And So let's try. So I will first try the secure one. List student secure working and delete from TBL students and comment. Okay, so it is working, and when we remove, I think we can guess yes. So when we check the SQL profiler, let's see how it is being executed here. So okay, so what is the key point here? As you can see, this is the query that we have provided as a text here. This is the query. And when SQL Server executes this query, it treats this text as a string, nothing else. You see, this have a special delete command here and special command here as well. All of them are treated as text. Therefore, they are not executed as a command of SQL Server. However, now I will execute the same command with insecure. Okay, executed. Now here the executed command, and you see, will it delete now? No, it won't delete because we didn't finish the previous query here. So we have to modify our query a bit more. Okay, let's try with secure and let's see if it is working. Yes, secure didn't delete any, and now insecure. And let's see the insecure command. Okay, here. And this is the executed command, and it has deleted all the records. Now when I select, as usual, you see nothing. Let's insert some random. And when I execute this, you see this is select command. However, it is getting ended here. Now the second command starts and it deletes all the students. When I run, you see it has executed and all records are deleted. You see 11,442 rows affected, deleted. We are still adding new records. However, not when it is executed as on, let's do it. Okay. Okay, secure. Okay, and it will come here. Oh, currently the our insertion is getting executed and listed on here. Okay, now it is ended. It has. Okay, now we can find here. However, when we execute the query like this is the secure way of execution. You see it uses exec sp execute SQL, and is it same at the other one? I don't know. Anyway, when I execute it, when I click messages, you see nothing. No rows affected. However, when we execute the other one, which is insecure command, therefore open to SQL injection attacks, you see all rows are deleted. So this is what is about being parameterized queries and not. Now, of course, it would be extremely inefficient, incorrect to write everywhere where we are going to do queries like this. You can also imagine that. So we have to convert this into a method call like we did. Now it is the time to do that conversion. So let's start with select data table. Okay, here. However, there will be a difference. What will be the difference? It will be this time db select, or let's name it as db parameterized. Okay, let's call it as parameterized select. Now, obviously, we cannot execute this with just query and commit self false. By the way, what is commit if you wonder? This means that select everything without locking the table. So this is about extra performance. You don't need to think about that, but you can search at home. This is used. I use this to select tables that don't change or the data update is not important. So don't get confused with that. I'm just leaving it. You can search for it at the home. Okay, so what else we need? We need to provide our objects and their parameter names. Okay. So to do that, I will compose a public class, parameterized query, something like this. And inside that, we will have some properties. Okay, what kind of properties we are going to need, or what we are going to hold? We will have the parameter name, the parameter database type, and the parameter value. Okay, so we will have 3 objects. Okay, so parameterized query object, let's call this something like this. And the first one will be the parameter name. Okay, string. Okay, the second one will be the database type. So it will be DB type, SQL DB type. You see specified SQL Server specific data type, field, property, whatever. And let's say type of parameter. Okay. And I wonder if we can make this as like this. Yeah, it also supports as a property. Then we will have object and the value of parameter. Okay. Now we will take a query, or we can also make it something like a single class. So let's make it a single class, public class, parameterized query, and it will have public list parameterized query of objects and it will have a string and sr query. Okay, so we will just get a parameterized query instance. Let's say query object, whatever the name you want. Okay, now we are going to move this code into the other code. Okay, we are going to use a data table because we will return a data table. We will open connection, we will use command. Okay, now we are going to add command parameters. How? The command text will be the query here. Connection will be set like this, and now we will do a for each iteration, and guess what? It will be in the list inside query object here, list of parameters, and each will be okay where we are object, it is fine, and here we will use the same. So the parameter name will be we are object dot parameter name, and then the type we are object dot type of parameter, and the value will be equal to your object dot value of parameter. Okay, and we will fill the adapter and return to result. We should also put this inside a try catch block, because when you are working with data base connections, there can be always some errors that you may not catch, and here we will return, and here we will just log whatever you want. Okay, so our parameterized query is ready. Now I will write this method with lesser code. Let's name this as improved or version 2. Okay, now you will see how much simpler it will be. So we will compose an instance of parameterized query, param query equal to new param query. And how many parameters we have? We have only one parameter, so param query, and the query will be here. And now let's compose parameters query object, our object equal to new parameterized query object, and here we can define them like this. So the first will be parameter name equal to this one. Okay, and then type of parameter equal to, you see IntelliSense is automatically filling the available or most probable options. It will be student name is var character, and then value of parameter will be equal to txt student name text. Okay. However, plus like, I mean the wild character. And then we will add this into, okay, we don't put here. We will add this into our param query here, and list of parameters, add, and we are object. And then we will just make this dt result equal to db connection, or I think we have added that as a static class reference here, you see. Therefore, I can directly access the methods and fields properties inside that. So it will be a db parameterized select. It will take only the query object, nothing else, which is here. And okay, we are done for now. Our method call is ready. So you see how many lines of code this is. It is around 16, 17 lines. And how many lines of code this is? And this is around 22. So you see there aren't that many difference. However, there is one great difference. Now that we are able to modify our database connection here, I mean the method here, and it would be effective immediately at everywhere. However, if we were writing each time like this, then we would be change the code everywhere where we have used it. But in this case, it is much more simpler. Also, I could write this as a single line as well. It is totally possible. It is up to you. So this is the methodology that you have to follow. In your final project, I am expecting you to write your code such as this. Wherever possible, write a method and prevent duplicate code. Prevent copy paste of code. Okay. So this is what you should do. Now, instead of version 1, we will call version 2, and see whether if it is working or not. Okay, AS, list students, day A. I think we have none right now. Let's add some records. DA, AS, A0, 0. Okay. There is some problem. Let's see what could be the problem here. Okay. We have set the query. We have set parameter name, type of parameter, value of parameter. Oh, this is the incorrect text. We have to use the txt student name. That is why. Okay. We had provided incorrect text box name. Okay, okay, now it is working as expected and it is totally secure. For example, let's end it here and like this. Yeah, nothing has happened. You can see that. Okay. So we have done the select query. What about update? Updates are not much different. So let's compose update query as well. Okay, here I will use parameterized update. Okay, and it will take same object. This time we won't need data table because we won't return anything. And here now we will do execute non-query. Okay, so there are several options and execute non-query asynchronous, execute reader asynchronous, and execute scalar. Executes the query and returns the first column of the first row in the result set returned by the query. Additional columns or rows are ignored. So executes the query returns the first column of the first row. Okay, so this is just for returning single result of the single column. And also there are some other execute options. So we just need execute non-query. And we can use this for update, delete, insert. Update, delete, or insert. So let's, we can also return integer for number of affected rows. So it will return integer like this. Okay. And if an exception occurs, it return -1. Okay, so -1 is not possible. Why? Because it can be either 0, no rows affected, or positive. So -1 means that an error occurred in our query. So let's add a button to update all the student names in our database here. Okay, so let's name it as secure update. Okay, secure update. And okay, so you see the size is different. So let's, how can we make it? I mean, edit this. Oh no. Interesting. Why they are getting same time? Okay, top item, top item. Okay, top control margin. Yeah, that is the error. So let's remove it. Okay, so you see, you can also when you define things with margin, they are automatically getting scaled according to your screen size or other objects, elements, whatever. Okay, so let's move them here. I don't show you much about interface design because it is something that you can, or let's say you should learn yourself. The design is more related to your skills, and I don't have much design skills, so therefore it is something that you have to work and improve yourself. Okay, so what this button going to do is it will just simply update all the student names, such as update TBL students, set student name equal to okay, let's say a plus student name, and then we can also add where query, but I won't add it right now. Always make it something like this so we can append where query as well. Okay, so it will be something like this. So let's copy and paste this code. Parameterized query, here are query. Okay, so what we are going to do is we will append a text here, and let's say name or edition. Okay, and here edition, and there won't be this, and parameters are added, and finally parameters are updated at insert with this, and it will return a number of rows affected, and we can show that as a message box. Plus okay, so this is how you do update, delete, or insert as parameterized query. And when you are inserting user values into database, you should always use this approach. Otherwise, your system would be vulnerable to SQL injection. So let's list the students. It will list everything. And now let's add toros to beginning of their name, such as this. So when I click secure update, it will update all the rows. Okay, you see 50,000 rows updated. And now relist. Now, okay, you see the toros is added to their name, appended to end of their name. Okay, like here. as you can see. And we can also verify that from here. You see the name now appended like this. So this was the secure update, and let's take the notes of lecture 4. Okay. All right. So what we have seen so far is how to use task factory to start new tasks for multi-threaded programming and responsive user interface design. Okay. And how to access elements of different threads, such as accessing text box from subthread started as a task. Okay. And all right, what else we have seen? Okay, how to properly convert code blocks into methods to prevent duplicate and copy paste code programming. Okay, and when does fields properties classes of static classes are initialized? How to call constructor of a static class and when it is initialized. Okay. And what else there is? What is SQL injection and how to prevent it with parameterized queries? How to write parameterized queries in C# for SQL MS SQL Server. How to properly construct a database class to handle all database operations with both raw queries and parameterized queries. Okay. All right. What else? There is. Okay. Dispatcher begin invoke. Dispatcher invoke. Okay. Okay, then using statements. Okay, let's see the duration. Okay, so we are about close to 2 hours, and let's see from lecture 3 context. Okay, we have shown this. We have shown this. Add delete button as update. Delete button as update. Okay, so yeah, we have shown how to update with parameterized query, but we can also delete the records with non-parameterized query as well. So let me add that too. Okay, delete record by ID unsafe, insecure. Sometimes you want to write code quickly, and if you are not using any input from the user client side, then you can use raw queries. Okay, so the parameterized queries are important when you are handling unsanitized data. When you are writing your own query, your selects, your updates, your deletes, and there is no possible way of exploitation, then you can use direct SQL queries, direct raw queries. Okay, and so this will be delete unsecure, and it will simply delete record something like this. Let me show you. So it was something like this. Okay, here. Okay, let's change the name of this method. So to keep them as same, db update delete insert. When you change your method, you can click rename and it will rename all the references you see. Currently we have only single reference we had. Now we are going to have the other reference as well. And it will be here. And the query will be simply, okay, first write the query in your server management studio where id equal to, okay, so this is our query, and here we will take it from txt user student name text. Okay, so this is totally unsafe. However, I just want to show you how to do it as well. Since we don't have any unique identifier of students in our database currently, it will delete multiple rows. So let's list the students. Okay, now I will delete all the students with 61 or 6495. 6495. Delete record. Okay, 9 rows deleted when I click, and I have to delete. Okay, now they are gone. This is how we call insecure. We could also call it as secure, like here, same, nothing different. Okay, so I think we have seen everything, and probably next week I will show you how to handle different databases such as SQLite database with other methods, ODBC if I remember correctly. And then, by the way, there is also frameworks to prevent SQL injections such as Entity Framework, and I will also show you that as well. So don't worry about that. This is hardcore programming. We do everything ourselves. However, when you do this way, you have much more control of your code, and you can write much more effective and, let's say, tuned code as well. This is hardcore, but I would say this is better from my point of view, especially in the high performance required projects. And okay, so I think this is good for this week. So let's upload our code to our GitHub repository. Okay, and lecture 4. In the previous lecture, we had some noise from background, and I am hoping that it won't be here at this lecture. I'm hoping. We will see after the video recording. Okay, we have updated our GitHub repository. Okay, it's here. Okay, end of lecture. Hopefully see you next week.